Welcome, Sojourners, to the Women's Leadership Mindset series. My name is Teresa Page. I am your host and looking forward to spending these next few moments with all of you. We have a lot of work to get done on today, but first, allow me to invite you to connect with me by subscribing to my website and YouTube channel. Connect and follow me on LinkedIn, and always feel free to contact me directly via email at teresakpagellc@outlook.com. So what is our goal? Well, as an author, speaker, coach, and mentor, my mission is to help professional women renew their leadership mindset with fresh fire and purpose through the mediums of leadership development and coaching services. However, the Women's Leadership Mindset series is a new initiative intended to spotlight powerful women leaders and how they serve the world through their professions and purpose. So with the goal to help women realize their unfulfilled dreams and re-energize the leaders they always were, this platform is designed to enhance, empower, educate, equalize, and even emancipate as our special guests share their entrepreneurial stories, provide valuable resources, and guidance in a caring, professional, and impactful manner. So, let's get down to business. Hi there, leaders. Thank you so much for joining me on today. You know, one of the things that I was thinking about today was when I first became a bona fide leader or was put in a bona fide leadership position that had not been something that was within my community or anything like that, where I already demonstrated certain leadership potential as well as skills and have been in other leadership positions, but more so in the career space. I remember that while I may have had the qualifications and I was trained how to do the job, one of the things that I remember was still feeling a sense of, I don't know if imposter syndrome is the word, but that might be a good word to fit here. There was still a certain feeling of inadequacy. And I don't necessarily place that. The question is that how did I come up with that feeling? For one, I think that organizations would benefit, especially in their leadership development programs. It's not necessarily teaching an individual that may be coming up through the ranks on how to do the function of a job or the function of a leadership position, but more so how to start to see themselves as a leader, which is a big deal. And the reason why that is so important is because oftentimes when an individual, especially if they're a individual that has taken on position and they have grown within an organization, they have to be able to let go, still know where they came from, but be able to let go of who they were before they became a leader. And that's really important because otherwise it's possible to be in a leadership position and still see yourself as you were in your former positions. In my case, it was in a support role. And I have talked about this before, and I want to make it clear there is nothing wrong with being in a support role. But when you take on a leadership position, that support, the way that you think as far as like supporting, has to be elevated because you're no longer supporting the administrative matters of a team where you're fulfilling what they need. you're now having to facilitate making sure that your team has what it needs to be successful in their current roles, and also be able to navigate if there are any structural or business changes, how to be able to navigate that space, how to reposition your team for success and for their growth. So that you're still in a place of quote unquote service, but it's elevated and it's different. And if you don't see yourself as the leader that you have become, it can have some great effects in your daily work. Again, it's possible to do the functions of a job, but if you're still suffering from some type of imposter syndrome, or you never shift hats like you need to, you will find yourself in a position of trying to prove to others that you belong there. And that can manifest in different ways. Overspending in your budget, uh, doing things that your team, that you believe that your team would appreciate, but you overall understand that they didn't. It wasn't even something that they wanted or needed, and it's like wasted energy. You end up wasting resources, time, as well as energy. Not only with your team, but also with stakeholders, because you're still proving that you belong in that space. So while I do believe that a part of that could be organizational adjustment, as far as not just training those within to take on leadership positions, but also having a track within your leadership development where you're also helping your those that you're developing to start to see themselves as a leader and what that looks like, or how to tap into their own natural leadership abilities and instincts. And that could be with a combination of assessments, or where people are able to determine what is their leadership DNA, what are their leadership talents, how do they naturally make decisions, to lean into their natural instincts. That there are plenty assessments, whether it's the Myers-Briggs, or it could be, the DISC assessments, or it could be the Kobe Index. It could be so many different types of assessments that really help a person to understand their leadership DNA. I know that I'm onto something here because, as an entrepreneur and in networking, I cannot begin to tell you how many individuals, and mainly women, and I'm not trying to infuse a whole group but what I'm seeing, especially amongst women as we are networking, is that we can absolutely do the job, but in a sense that we don't necessarily believe in ourselves still, even though you're doing the dang thing. I mean, how is that even possible? But it's possible that we can't articulate our greatness, we can't articulate our value. And we probably can't articulate it because we honestly don't know. One of the things that I've done recently is to go back into my records and to reread the reports about the leadership assessments that I have taken over the years. Because I have taken the DISC assessment in my graduate studies, I have taken the LPI while I was doing my graduate studies, I have taken the Clifton Strengths assessment, in addition to the predictive index assessment. I've also done the skill scan assessments, and as well as Myers-Briggs. I've done all of these in different spaces over the years, and I've been having to go back to get an understanding about myself, especially when you're trying to create a brand new world. I have been having to go back to restudy me, to restudy the leader within, because the leader that I realized that I've been in leadership positions in different spaces, whether it's a faith-based position or whether it's been education, whether it's in professional associations. I have held leadership positions in different spaces, and I've learned from all of them, and each one has given me a specific education. But as I'm moving forward in the entrepreneurial space, sometimes you can flounder, and that's okay. I think that's still part of the discovery part, especially if you're still within the early years. But going back to study what some of my strengths are is helping me to plug back into the strategic aspects of myself, how I see the future, how I am a relator, what my core values and my beliefs are, that I am relatively a positive person. But I also understand that I am a captain. You know, I'm a problem solver who likes change and innovation while controlling the big picture. I know this about myself. It is helping me to understand these things about myself. It's helping me to understand that my top skills are in leadership, organization, core communication, facilitative management, support, as well as in courses, being able to teach, that I am creative. I do well at making decisions. I do well at seeing a big vision in front of me, setting goals, organizing, building a team, knowing how to coach, knowing how to manage projects. I know how to listen. I know how to speak to groups. There are a lot of things that I've been having to revisit to just check back in, to get my mojo back, so to speak. Because when life does things to you, it can make you doubt yourself. I think that's why this Love to Success Factor Women's Leadership Retreat is going to be so special, because the sessions that we will experience together are some of the real time lessons that I learned when I was active in a leadership position, and the things that I had to come to terms with concerning myself. And then having to go back and to really study what leadership is, how we were built for it, how we're engineered for it, actually, as well as the natural leadership abilities for all human beings. I think that is common. And what is particularly special about women's leadership abilities, and how knowing and understanding all of that can then help us to create an environment where we can enterprise, whether it's with a good, whether it's with a service, whether we're a for profit, a nonprofit, faith based organization, or just raising our household or serving the community, that we are able to bring a certain statelyhood of leadership to everything that we do, regardless of the role that we have or don't have. That leadership can express itself. If there is an expression, regardless if you have the role or not. And that's what's so powerful about Love to Success Factor Women's Leadership Retreat, because it's bringing us back to ourselves what we were actually made for. Whether you need to be reminded or whether you're hearing it for the very first time. Because, you know, there's certain things that we will learn as far as empowerment through love. We'll spend some time talking about leadership development. We'll talk about equality and advocacy. We'll also learn about wealth and creativity activation so we can unlock our creative potential and build a sustainable legacy, as well as vision and action planning. But I think what is not necessarily about what we're going to learn, but how are people going to feel when they leave? How are they going to feel like a leader? And the answer is yes. It is my belief that attendees will leave feeling confident. They're ready to lead with some clarity about themselves and about their purpose. They'll leave there feeling empowered, knowing that their voices matter in any sphere of influence they may navigate in. And not only that, but that their vision is achievable. They'll feel connected, that they're now going to be a part of a powerful network of like-minded women. I believe attendees will also feel inspired with renewed energy to attack their unfulfilled goals, as well as feeling prepared, actually being equipped with practical tools, with practical strategies, and a personalized plan for their own growth. It is not enough to do the work of a leader. To ensure our success in our places of leadership, with or without the role, we have to feel it too. We have to know it. And you can only know it once you know yourself and have studied yourself and have given yourself the room to study yourself, to actually know what's in you, and to do what I call is a diligent search of the greatness that already lies within you. And love is that flashlight that will turn a light on the treasures that's still hiding in the dark somewhere within us, awaiting for a particular moment in time, or waiting for the right cause, or awaiting for the next uprising. Because I do believe that each one of us possess treasures that are reserved for a particular time, and they cannot come to life or to fruition, or they're not activated until a particular condition, until the conditions are right to activate that particular leadership ability. But it's already in us. So come and join me for Love the Success Factor Women's Leadership Retreat. That will convene on March the 16th through March the 17th at the Umstead Hotel and Spa in Cary, North Carolina. This really is going to be an immersive experience. I selected this location because it's so beautiful, and I believe it is the perfect place to bring all of our senses in the room, not only by its environment, but to bring us into a space where we're away from the demands of our everyday life for just a couple of days, to rest, to recharge, but to be equipped, and to be equipped with strategy, to be reminded of your greatness, to be able to reassess if you're in the rightful place, to be able to think about how you're going to impact your sphere of influence or your domain of industry differently. And most importantly, how love is the catalyst that brings all of these things to life. Love is more than an emotion. It is a superpower. It is in our enablement. It is our activator to truly affect change, real transformational change in our world, in our communities, in our global economy, in our domains of industry. So, thank you so much for joining me on today. As always, here's to the journey, and let's move forward.